Before we get into discussing this transformation here on the Geekdom 101 Transformation Guide, it is imperative that you watch the previous edition of the guide where we discuss this form's predecessor, because I go into a lot of detail about the origin of the names and the story behind the previous form, because it does tie in with this one. So on this video, we're going to be discussing the future Trunks exclusive form, Super Saiyan Grade 3, otherwise known as Ultra Super Saiyan or sometimes USS2. We're going to talk about it as part of the Transformation Guide. When Trunks and Vegeta both left the Room of Spirit and Time, it was obvious that they both got an incredible power boost, and this power boost is referred to as Ultra Super Saiyan by the fans, by Curtis Hoffman, but the official name per the guidebooks is Super Saiyan Grade 2, but Trunks was able to go further beyond. Now don't get confused, Grade 2, Grade 3 is not Super Saiyan 2 and 3, it is the mutated, upgraded version of Super Saiyan 1. So if we open up our manga to Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 386, or turn on Dragon Ball Z Episode 162, we find out that Trunks got much stronger than we could ever think of, even more powerful than his own father in the Room of Spirit and Time. But one of the interesting things that Trunks stated when he tapped into this form is that he hid this power as a secret, not wanting to share with his father that he had achieved this power because he did not want to embarrass him. However, the joke was on Trunks, because not only was Vegeta aware of this power, but he chose not to tap into it because Vegeta was also aware of the major drawback behind this form. So once Vegeta ends up passing out at the hands of Perfect Cell, future Trunks lays down the gauntlet and challenges him to a battle of Mortal Kombat, not the game, an actual combat between mortals, and shows off Super Saiyan Dai Sandankai, which is the third stage of Super Saiyan 1. Now, this form has an incredible amount of power and really shows the potential of the child of Vegeta and what half-breeds can do if pushed. At this instance, not only does Trunks get humongously larger, but his pupils go white, which mirrors that of the form that Broly would use in the Broly movie that would be released shortly after this episode aired. Now understand that Trunks came first. Toriyama drew this transformation in the manga way before the Broly movie was going to come out. So if anything, Broly's legendary stage was an homage to this form. Now in this form, Trunks has an incredible amount of power and does appear that he surpassed his father, but there is a huge drawback, and that is the fact that as Trunks shows how incredibly strong he is to the point where he and Perfect Cell actually scorch the skies as they fight, Trunks could not keep up and touch Perfect Cell, because even though Trunks may have been really strong, stronger than Vegeta, in fact possibly the strongest Z fighter at the time, he could not touch Perfect Cell. And what good is being strong if you cannot touch your opponent, because this form completely handicaps your speed. When it comes to multipliers of power, we actually do have a source, although it is not a Japanese source. One of the Spanish guidebooks called Dragon Ball The Legend of Manga states that this form gives Trunks a 10 times multiplier. Take that for what you will though, because it's not from the Japanese guidebooks. So it's up to you as to whether or not you want to accept that as gospel. Goku himself says the form may have great power, but what good is it to have this much power and this much strength if you cannot connect against your enemy? And thus Trunks realizes this after Cell shows him his mistake and the fact that even Trunks himself was arrogant in thinking he could win in this form and also naive. Cell tells him he's a failure when it comes to this transformation, and Trunks concedes the fight. I've always loved this because it really is good character writing as far as I'm concerned, because it shows that Trunks is a flawed fighter. He doesn't have the knowledge of Goku or Vegeta, and even Goku himself knew that these two forms were, let's just say, incomplete. Now, the other big drawback to this form is that it gobbles up stamina like crazy. Just maintaining the transformation, just doing that, even without throwing a single punch, quickly drains your stamina and your energy, and thus you get tired a lot faster. And that to me makes this form an extreme letdown. Now, a lot of people throughout the years argued that had it not been for the speed handicap, Trunks could have won this fight. But when you actually analyze the manga and the anime, there's more to it than that. Obviously, Trunks was very strong. But as far as competing against Cell went, there were other issues here. For example, Cell himself actually shows that he can achieve this form by bulking up and demonstrating to Trunks right in his face that there are problems with this form. So if Cell wanted to match power for power, he could have against Trunks. And let's not forget that later on, against the fight with Goku and Gohan in the Cell games, and yes, Cell did train, of course, we have to factor that in, but Cell himself was really being pushed to his limit, especially by Gohan. And that tells me that Cell in this fight with Trunks was still conserving stamina and still holding back. So even though Trunks may have appeared to have been able to beat Cell, and maybe he could have if he had the speed advantage, Cell had many more tricks up his sleeve, and I believe that Cell would have still won the fight because of various factors, plus the fact that he's an Namekian, he can heal, and of course there's other hacks that Cell has. But nonetheless, I think a lot of people overstate and overestimate Trunks' power here. I don't think he could have beaten Cell no matter what, even if he had a speed increase, because Cell also had this power too. And if you want to match power for power, at the very least would have been a stalemate, and that's not including Cell's hacks. So although this form looks cool, it's definitely one that even Vegeta himself in Dragon Ball Super refers to as being primitive. It's just not an effective form for combat at all. Goku says it, Vegeta says it, and Trunks of course realizes it, which is why he didn't really use this form in combat again, with the exception of the anime version of the Cell games, the fight with the Cell Juniors. We saw it one more time there, but after that, he realized that this form is just no good. But it wasn't the last time we saw the form. Dragon Ball Super showed that Caulifla was able to tap into this form, battling Goku in the Tournament of Power, but like with Trunks, just could not touch Goku because the massive muscles make you lose speed, and Goku was way too fast, so she preferred to use her regular Super Saiyan form. Now, quick clarification here for all of you old school gamers who played Budokai. In the old Budokai games, this form is referred to as Super Trunks 2, and that is incorrect because the form is called Grade 3. So his Grade 3 is called Super Trunks 2, and his Grade 2 is just called Super Trunks. And some people actually call it Super Saiyan 1.5. In fact, it was called that in Supersonic Warriors 2. So be aware of all the different names: Super Trunks, Ultra Super Saiyan. The official guidebooks listed as Super Saiyan Grade 3. Or you can always call it what Krillin called it in the manga, Super Saiyan. Either way, it's a cool name. Anyways, what's after 3? 4, which means that the next video in our series is on Super Saiyan Grade 4, otherwise known as Mastered or Full Power Super Saiyan. I will talk about that in the next one.